The Red Necklace, Disc 2. Monsieur Hollart, the theatre manager, was not a morning person. The previous night he'd been out drinking with some actors. Now, red-faced and snoring, he was fast asleep. It took him a few minutes to realise that the terrible banging sound was not coming from the inside of his head. The knocking just kept on, getting louder and more urgent. Finally, barefoot and shivering, Monsieur Hollart dragged himself out of his warm bed. His head felt like a rotten apple. The source of the noise was coming from the front door. He fumbled with the lock until finally he managed to open it. 2 Yans and 2 tattoos floated before him. They were swaying back and forth, overlapping each other. Something was missing from this unsettling picture. "Where's Topolan?" Tattoo walked into the apartment, followed by Yan. Even half awake and with a thumping headache, Monsieur Hollart could see that Tattoo was in a bad way. "My dear friend, are you unwell?" He looked back at the door, expecting to see Topolan come panting up the stairs behind.
"Topolan's dead,"
said Tattoo with a sob.
"Dead?" repeated Monsieur Hollart. "How can he be dead?" "A bullet,"
said Tattoo, his face collapsing as tears appeared in his watery red eyes.
"He was shot like a dog." No, morgue bleu. Yan, speak to me. Tell me this is a nightmare."
He grabbed hold of the boy's flimsy coat so that the sleeve came away with an unforgiving ripping sound. "Count Kaliowski shot him," said Yan.
"But why?"
Monsieur Hollart's teeth were beginning to chatter. He sat down heavily on an armchair whose horsehair insides were spilling out. It creaked alarmingly under the weight of his hangover.
"The trick must have gone wrong. It must have been an accident."
"It was no accident,"
said Tattoo.
"The Count tampered with the pistol."
"But why would Count Kaliowski murder a mere magician?"
It was the question Yan had been asking himself all the way back to Paris.
"Because,"
said Tattoo wearily,
"Topolan recognized Kaliowski, and instead of keeping quiet, he let his tongue get the better of him. Topolan knew him from a long time ago, when he was called by another name."
Yan could see that if Kaliowski was a fraud, he would want no one knowing it. Still, Tattoo's explanation raised more questions than it answered. Yan put a half-frozen pan of wine on the fire to boil, searched through the mess to find some glasses, and cleared the table as Tattoo took a loaf from out of his jacket, where it sat before them like a golden-brown sun. At the sight of it, Monsieur Hollart's attention wavered from his immediate grief.
"Where did you get that?" he asked.
"From the Marquis de Villeduval's kitchen."
Tattoo broke off a piece and handed it to him. The hot wine and bread worked their magic on Monsieur Hollart. With a huge sigh, he went to get dressed, reappearing with his wig placed lopsidedly on his head, his waistcoat buttons done up wrongly and his shirt hanging out.
"I have a full house, all tickets sold, and no performer."
"You'll have to find someone else,"
said Tattoo.
"Morbleu,"
said Monsieur Hollart.
"I tell you, if I weren't so kind-hearted, I would have you two thrown out onto the streets for your failure to protect Topolan. Why, he was one of the greatest magicians France has ever seen."
He wiped his eyes, and putting on his heavy outer coat and muffler, opened the front door, letting in a blast of icy wind from the stone stairwell.
"You can't stay here, you know."
"Don't worry, we'll be gone soon,"
said Tattoo.
"Count Kaliowski is after us. We had trouble getting out of the chateau alive."
Monsieur Hollart stopped in his tracks and turned round.
"Morbleu. You know who he is too, don't you?"
"Yes, for my sins I do."
"Who is he then?"
"That,"
said Tattoo, closing his eyes,
"would not be worth my life to tell you."